I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some perspective from strangers on the internet because honestly, I don't know who to trust anymore. So here's the situation. I'm 32, female, and up until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I was married to my husband Ben, 34, male, for 6 years, together for 8 total. We met in college and did the whole fairy tale thing. Moved in together after graduation, got engaged 2 years later, had this beautiful wedding that everyone said looked like something out of a magazine. We bought a house in the suburbs, adopted a golden retriever named Murphy, and were actively trying for kids. I genuinely thought we were solid. My best friend Hannah, 31, female, has been in my life for 10 years. We met at work right after college and instantly clicked. She was my maid of honor, the person I called when I was happy, sad, or just bored. She was over at our house at least twice a week for dinner, game nights, or just hanging out. Ben always said she was like the sister he never had, and I loved that they got along so well. Looking back, I should have questioned how well they got along, but hindsight is 20/20, right? About 4 months ago, I started noticing some changes in Ben. He was working late more often, being secretive with his phone, and just seemed distant. We'd been trying to get pregnant for about a year at that point, and I chalked it up to stress from that process. The fertility appointments, the scheduling, the disappointment every month when we weren't successful, it was taking a toll on both of us. At least that's what I thought. Hannah was amazing during this time. There were a few of these times when she'd come over with wine and chocolate when I was feeling down about another negative pregnancy test. She'd listen to me about Ben seeming checked out. She even suggested couples therapy, which I thought was such a mature advice from someone who'd never been married herself. She kept saying things like, "You deserve someone who's fully present," and "Marriage shouldn't feel this lonely." I thought she was just being a good friend looking out for me. The weirdest part was that Ben started getting out more with work friends on weekends. He'd never been much of a social butterfly, so this was new. When I'd asked to join or suggest we make it a double date situation, he'd always have some excuse about it being work talk or guy time. Hannah would usually end up coming over those nights to keep me company, bringing takeout and suggesting we watch movies or try new face masks. I was actually grateful for her presence during what felt like a rough patch in my marriage. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday in February and Ben had texted saying he'd be late because of a work dinner. Hannah showed up at my door around 7 p.m. looking really serious, which was unusual for her. She's normally this bubbly, energetic person, but that night she seemed almost nervous. She asked if we could sit down and talk, and something about her tone made my stomach drop. She started by saying how much our friendship meant to her and how she'd been wrestling with something for weeks. Then she told me she had seen Ben with another woman, not just once, but multiple times over the past couple of months. She said she'd been debating whether to tell me because she didn't want to be the messenger, but that she couldn't keep watching me be oblivious when I deserved to know the truth. I felt like the world was spinning, and I asked her for details. Where? When? What did she see exactly? She said she'd seen them at restaurants across town, holding hands, kissing in parking lots. She said it looked serious, not just a fling. When I asked who the woman was, Hannah got this pained look on her face and said she couldn't tell me because it would destroy me. And knowing wouldn't help anything anyway. She said the important thing was that I deserved better than someone who was cheating on me while I was trying to build a family with him. That night was a blur of tears, disbelief, and Hannah holding me while I sobbed. She stayed over and made me tea and kept saying things like, "You're going to get through this," and "You deserve to be free from this betrayal." She helped me figure out how to confront Ben, even offering to be there when I did it for moral support. I confronted Ben the next day and he initially denied it, but when I pressed with the details Hannah had given me, he broke down, admitted everything. He said he'd been unhappy for a while and that our marriage felt more like a business partnership than a romance, and that he'd connected with someone else. He claimed it started as an emotional affair but had become physical about 2 months prior. He wouldn't tell me who it was either, saying it would just make things worse for everyone involved. Next few weeks were hell. We tried one couples therapy session, but Ben seemed checked out even there. He moved into our guest room and we barely spoke except about logistics. Hannah was incredible during this time. She helped me find a divorce lawyer and brought me groceries when I couldn't bring myself to leave the house, and listened to me cycle through anger, sadness, and confusion on repeat. We decided to go with a no-fault divorce in our state since we had no kids and could agree on most of the asset division. Ben wanted to sell the house, which broke my heart, but I couldn't afford the mortgage on my own anyway. The whole process took about 3 months from filing to finalization, and Hannah was there for every step. She even took time off work to come with me to some of the lawyer meetings. During the divorce proceedings, I kept asking both Ben and Hannah about the identity of the other woman. I became a bit obsessed with it, honestly. I wanted to know if it was someone I knew, someone from his work, someone I'd maybe suspected. Ben maintained that telling me wouldn't help anything, and Hannah kept saying the same thing, that knowing would just torture me more and I should focus on moving forward. The divorce was finalized on a Friday in early May, and I remember the date exactly because it felt so surreal to walk out of that courthouse officially single after 8 years with Ben. Hannah picked me up afterward and took me out for what she called a freedom lunch. She kept talking about new beginnings and how this was actually a blessing in disguise because now I could find someone who would truly appreciate me. That weekend, I decided to get off social media for a while. I'd been seeing too many happy couple posts that made me feel worse, and I thought a digital detox would be good for my mental health. Hannah supported this decision completely, saying it was mature and healthy. So I was completely offline for about a week, and when I finally logged back into Facebook and Instagram the following weekend, I had dozens of notifications and missed messages. My heart stopped when I saw the first post that had been tagged with my name. It was from Ben's sister congratulating the happy couple on their engagement. I clicked through to see the full post, and there it was. Ben and Hannah, posted together with Hannah showing off a ring, both of them grinning like idiots. The post was from the Saturday after our divorce was finalized, literally the next day. The caption talked about how they were so excited to finally share their love with the world and thanked everyone for their support during this transition. I started scrolling through the comments feeling like I was going to throw up. People were congratulating them, talking about how cute they were together, how they could see the love in their eyes, but the worst part was seeing comments from mutual friends saying things like, "So glad everyone's handling this maturely," and "It's nice that there's no drama since everyone's on the same page." Then I saw a comment from Ben's mom that made everything click into place. She wrote something like, "I'm so happy you two can finally be open about your relationship. I'm so grateful that OP was understanding and gave you both her blessing. It shows what a class act she is." I felt like I was losing my mind. I started going through more posts, and there were multiple references to how I had apparently known about their relationship and had been supportive of it. Hannah had posted something on her Instagram story, which I'd missed during my social media break, about how grateful she was for mature friends who understand that love is complicated, and how some people are just meant to be together. I immediately called Hannah, but it went straight to voicemail. I called again and again, same thing. I texted her asking what the hell was going on, but got no response. I drove to her apartment, but she wasn't there, or at least wasn't answering the door. Finally, I got a text from her that evening. It was long and basically said that she was sorry I had to find out through social media, but she and Ben had decided it was time to be honest about their feelings. She said they'd been fighting their connection for months, but realized after my divorce was final that they couldn't deny their love anymore. She claimed she thought I would be happy for them since I'd been saying during the divorce that I wanted Ben to be happy and that our marriage had been wrong for both of us. The text went on to say that she hoped I could understand and that she valued our friendship too much to lose it over this. She said Ben had been miserable in our marriage and that she'd only been trying to help me see that so I could be free to find real love too. She actually had the nerve to frame their relationship as some kind of favor to me. I was shaking with rage. I realized that Hannah had been the other woman all along. She'd been sleeping with my husband for months while comforting me about my failing marriage. She'd helped me through my divorce from the man she was planning to marry. She'd been in my house, eating my food, holding me while I cried about the very betrayal she was participating in. But the worst part was that she'd somehow convinced people that I knew about their relationship and had given my blessing. I started getting texts from mutual friends congratulating me on handling everything so maturely. My own sister called me to say how impressed she was with my grace under pressure. People were praising me for being so evolved and understanding about my ex-husband moving on with his best friend. I tried to set the record straight with a few close friends, but Hannah and Ben had apparently been telling people for weeks that we'd all discussed this as adults and come to an amicable agreement. They'd painted a picture where I was some kind of saint who had realized that my marriage was wrong and had graciously stepped aside so that true love could flourish. The gaslighting was incredible. I started questioning my own memory of events. Had I somehow given the impression that I was okay with this? Had I missed signs that they were together? But no, I kept coming back to the fact that Hannah had sat in my living room and told me about Ben's affair without mentioning it was her. She'd helped me hire a divorce lawyer to end my marriage so she could swoop in and marry him herself. I'm sitting here now, 3 months post-divorce. I honestly don't know what to think or feel. I've lost my husband, my best friend, my house, and apparently my reputation, since everyone thinks I'm some kind of enlightened person who orchestrated this whole thing. I feel like I've been living in an alternate reality where everyone knows the script except me. I guess what I'm asking is, am I overreacting? Should I be angrier than I am? Should I try to set the record straight with people, or should I just let everyone believe what they want to believe? Has anyone else been through something like this? How do you handle being betrayed by 2 people you trusted most in the world? How do you cope when everyone thinks you're okay with betrayal that's actually destroying you inside? Update 1. Thanks to everyone who responded to my original post. Reading your comments helped me realize that I'm not crazy and that what Hannah and Ben did was beyond messed up. A lot of you suggested I tell people the truth about what happened. I've been going back and forth on that. Well, the decision was kind of made for me yesterday. My sister came over to bring me some mail that had been delivered to her house by mistake, and she made some comment about how proud she was of how I'd handled the whole situation with Hannah and Ben. She said something like, "I don't think I could be as understanding as you were about them being together." I guess something in my face gave me away because she immediately asked if I was actually okay with everything. I ended up breaking down and telling her the whole real story. How Hannah had lied to me about knowing who Ben was cheating with. How she'd been the other woman all along. How she'd helped me through my divorce while planning to marry my ex-husband. My sister was absolutely horrified. She kept saying, "Wait, what?" and making me repeat parts of the story because she couldn't believe it. She said Hannah and Ben had been telling everyone that all 3 of us had sat down together months ago and decided that Ben and I weren't right for each other, and that Hannah and Ben had feelings for each other, and that we'd all agreed to explore after my divorce was final. She said they'd made it sound like some kind of conscious uncoupling situation where everyone was mature and communicative. Hearing how detailed their lie was made me even angrier. They'd really crafted this whole narrative where I was an active participant in my own betrayal. My sister immediately wanted to call other family members and friends to set the record straight, but I asked her to wait. I said I needed to think about how to handle this. But then today something happened that changed everything. I got a call from my cousin Emma, who lives across the country. She was calling because she'd seen the engagement announcement online and wanted to congratulate me on handling everything so gracefully. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She mentioned that Hannah had reached out to her directly on Instagram about a month ago. Hannah had sent her a long message explaining the whole situation and asking Emma to keep an eye on me during this transition. According to Emma, Hannah had told her I was struggling with the divorce and might not be thinking clearly, and that I might try to rewrite history about what had happened between the three of us. Basically, Hannah had preemptively contacted my extended family and friends to make sure that if I ever told the real story, they'd think I was having some kind of breakdown and making things up. She told people that I might become bitter and vindictive and tried to paint her and Ben as the bad guys when really we'd all handled things maturely together. I cannot believe the level of manipulation involved here. Hannah didn't just lie about what happened. She built an entire defense system to make sure that if I ever told the truth, no one would believe me. She'd essentially gaslit me to my own family and friends before I even knew there was anything to gaslight me about. Emma said she'd thought it was weird at the time, but Hannah had been so convincing about being worried about my mental state during the divorce. Hannah had even sent her screenshots of some of our text conversations from during the divorce proceedings, but she'd obviously cherry-picked ones where I was saying things like, "I just want Ben to be happy," or "maybe this is for the best." Normal things you say when you're trying to process a difficult situation, but taken out of context to make it seem like I was okay with him being with someone else. I'm honestly impressed by how calculated this was. Hannah had months to plan this whole thing. While she was sitting in my living room pretending to comfort me, she was building a case for why I was mentally unstable and not to be trusted if I ever contradicted her version of events. The good news is that Emma immediately saw through it once I told her what really happened, and she said it never made sense to her that I would be okay with my husband leaving me for my best friend, no matter how mature I was supposed to be. She's already started reaching out to other family members to let them know the real story. I've decided I'm not going to stay quiet anymore. I'm going to tell people the truth, not because I want to hurt Hannah and Ben, but because I deserve to have people know what actually happened to me. I'm tired of being praised for grace I never showed and understanding I never had. I'm planning to make a Facebook post in the next day or two, setting the record straight. I'm not going to be nasty about it, but I'm going to clearly explain that I had no idea Hannah was the other woman, that I never gave anyone my blessing and I found out about their engagement the same way everyone else did, through social media. Some of you might think this is petty, but I feel like I need to reclaim my own story. I can't keep living in this alternate reality where everyone thinks I'm okay with betrayal that nearly destroyed me. I'll update again after I post something public. Wish me luck. Update 2. Well, I posted on Facebook yesterday and the response has been intense. I kept it simple and just stated the facts that I had not known Hannah was the other woman Ben was cheating with, that I never gave anyone my blessing for their relationship, and that I found out about their engagement through social media like everyone else. I said that I wanted to set the record straight because people had been congratulating me for handling a situation I never actually handled. Within an hour, I had dozens of comments and messages. Most people were shocked and supportive, saying they'd thought the whole situation seemed weird but had taken Hannah and Ben at their word. Several mutual friends apologized for not checking in with me more during the divorce, saying they'd assumed I was okay, since that's what Hannah and Ben had told everyone. But the most interesting responses came from people I barely knew. College acquaintances, co-workers, neighbors, Apparently, Hannah had been reaching out widely to make sure her version of events was the one people heard first. One woman I worked with 5 years ago said Hannah had messaged her to give her a heads up about my divorce and to mention that I might act out during the process because I was struggling with the end of my marriage. It's becoming clear that Hannah had conducted a full PR campaign to control the narrative around my divorce. She'd contacted dozens of people in my life to preemptively discredit anything I might say that contradicted her story. The level of planning and manipulation is honestly breathtaking. Ben apparently saw my post because he sent me a long text yesterday evening. He said he was disappointed that I was causing drama when we'd all moved past this. He claimed that he thought I understood that our marriage was over anyway, and that his relationship with Hannah just helped make that clear. He said they'd been trying to protect my feelings by not being public about their relationship until after our divorce was final. The audacity of that text made me laugh out loud. He was trying to reframe months of lying and cheating as some kind of favor to me. He said that if I really cared about moving on, I'd stop stirring up trouble and let everyone focus on the future instead of the past. But here's where it gets really interesting. About an hour after Ben's text, I got a call from his sister Katie. Katie and I had always gotten along well, and she'd been one of the people posting congratulations about how maturely everyone had handled things. Katie said she'd seen my Facebook post and wanted to talk. When I called her back, she told me something that changed my entire understanding of the timeline. She said that Ben had brought Hannah to their family Christmas dinner in December, 2 months before Hannah came to tell me about the affair. Katie said she thought it was weird that Ben brought Hannah without me, but Ben had told the family that I was sick and that Hannah was just coming as a friend since she didn't have anywhere else to go for Christmas. But now, looking back, Katie realized that Ben and Hannah had been acting like a couple that night. She said they'd been touchy and affectionate in a way that seemed like more than friendship, but the family had dismissed it because Ben was married to me. So Ben and Hannah were essentially playing house with his family while I was at home thinking my husband was working through some temporary issues with me. The betrayal just keeps getting deeper the more I learn about it. Katie also told me that Ben's mom had been uncomfortable with how quickly Ben had moved on with Hannah after our divorce. She'd made some comments to Katie about it seeming suspiciously fast for Ben to be ready for such a serious relationship so soon after ending an 8-year marriage. But Ben had assured his family that he and Hannah had discussed their feelings with me and that I was supportive of their relationship. Katie apologized for not reaching out to me directly to check on how I was really doing. She said the family had been told that I preferred space to process everything and that contact from them might make things harder for me. Another lie designed to isolate me and control the narrative. The most shocking thing Katie told me was about the engagement. She said Ben had been planning to propose to Hannah for weeks before our divorce was even final. He'd apparently been ring shopping in April and had asked his family for their grandmother's wedding band to have it reset for Hannah's engagement ring. So while I was sitting in lawyers' offices dividing our assets, Ben was literally planning his next wedding. I'm starting to realize that my entire last year of marriage was a lie. Ben and Hannah weren't having some passionate affair that got out of hand. They were methodically planning my replacement while managing my emotions to make the transition as smooth as possible for them. But the story doesn't end there. After my Facebook post blew up, Hannah apparently panicked. Katie told me that Hannah had been frantically calling Ben's family members trying to do damage control. She'd been insisting that I was having some kind of breakdown and that nothing I was saying could be trusted. But here's the thing. Once people started really thinking about the timeline and the circumstances, Hannah and Ben's stories started falling apart. Too many people remembered weird interactions or comments that didn't make sense if everything had been as above board as they claimed. Then this morning I got a message that honestly made my jaw drop. It was from Ben's ex-girlfriend from college, someone I'd only met a few times over the years. She said she'd seen the drama unfolding on social media and felt like she needed to tell me something. She said that Ben had cheated on her too, with a mutual friend who had pretended to support her through their rough patch. She said the pattern was identical. The friend had helped her process her relationship problems with Ben, had been there for all the emotional support, and had even helped her plan her breakup with him. Then a few weeks after they broke up, Ben and the friend had gotten together. She said she'd wanted to warn me when Ben and I got serious, but she'd convinced herself that people change and it wasn't her place to interfere. Now she was regretting not saying something because she could see that Ben had literally used the same playbook on me that he'd used on her years earlier. This means that Ben and Hannah didn't just happen to fall in love while he was married to me. This was Ben's established pattern for ending relationships. Find the next woman, use a mutual friend to help manage the current girlfriend's emotions during the transition, and then move seamlessly from one relationship to the next without any messy breakup drama. I feel like I've been living in the Truman Show or something. My entire marriage ending was apparently scripted, and I was the only one who didn't know I was playing a role. I didn't even know how to process this information. I'm angry, but I'm also impressed by how sophisticated their manipulation was. They had contingency plans for their contingency plans. Tomorrow I'm meeting with Katie and Ben's ex-girlfriend for coffee. Katie wants to apologize in person for her family's role in enabling this, and Ben's ex wants to share more details about his pattern of behavior. I never thought my life would turn into some kind of detective story, but here we are. I'll update again after I learn more. This rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper. Update 3. I thought this story was over, but I had one more thing I needed to do before I could truly move on. After talking with Katie and learning about Ben's ex-girlfriend, Michelle, confirming his pattern of behavior, I realized I had to at least try to warn Hannah. Not because I owed her anything, but because I needed to know I'd done the right thing. So yesterday morning, I sent Hannah a text asking if we could talk. I kept it simple and just said I had some information about Ben that she should know before their wedding planning got too serious. It took her a few hours to respond, but she eventually agreed to meet me at a neutral location, the Starbucks downtown where we used to meet for coffee all the time when we were actually friends. Walking into that coffee shop felt surreal. 3 months ago, Hannah and I would have been excitedly planning her engagement party or discussing wedding venues. Instead, I was about to tell her that her fiancé had a documented pattern of using women's friends to manipulate them into breakups so that he could move on without any messy confrontations. Hannah looked uncomfortable when I walked in, but she was there. I got straight to the point and told her about my conversation with Katie, about Michelle, about how Ben had used the exact same playbook with his college girlfriend that he'd used with me. I explained that in both previous cases, Ben had recruited a mutual friend to help push his current girlfriend towards a breakup, and then gotten together with that friend temporarily before moving on to his real next target. I told her that she wasn't his great love story. She was just the latest in a pattern of women he'd used to make his transition smoother. I even showed her some of the details Michelle had shared about how Ben had manipulated her friend Amanda in exactly the same way he'd manipulated Hannah. Hannah listened to everything I said, but I could see her getting more defensive as I talked. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment, and then she said what I was describing sounded nothing like her relationship with Ben. She said their connection was real, and that Ben had told her he'd never felt this way about anyone before. I tried to explain that Ben had probably said similar things to Michelle and his high school girlfriend. But Hannah cut me off. She said I was clearly still bitter about the divorce and I was trying to sabotage her happiness because I couldn't handle seeing Ben with someone else. She actually said she wasn't surprised I was making up stories about Ben's past because I'd never been able to take responsibility for why our marriage failed. She claimed that Ben told her I'd been emotionally distant and unsupportive for years and that she'd seen firsthand how I'd made him feel unappreciated and unloved. The conversation got heated pretty quickly after that. Hannah said that even if Ben had a pattern in the past, people change, and that their relationship was different because it was built on a real foundation of friendship and understanding. She said I was just jealous that Ben had found genuine happiness with someone who actually supported and appreciated him. When I pointed out that she'd literally helped him cheat on me and then lied to my face about it for months, she said that she'd been trying to help both of us see that our marriage was already over. She claimed she'd saved me years of being in an unhappy relationship and that I should be thanking her instead of trying to destroy her engagement. The final straw was when she said that Ben had warned her I might try something like this. She said he told her that I had a tendency to blame other people for my problems and that I might try to turn people against him out of spite. She said she was disappointed that I was proving him right. I realized at that moment that there was no point in continuing the conversation. Hannah had made her choice and she was going to believe what she wanted to believe regardless of the evidence. I told her that I had done what I felt was right by warning her and that what she did with the information was up to her. As I was getting up to leave, Hannah said something that really stuck with me. She said maybe if I'd been a better wife, Ben wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere for emotional support. She said she wasn't going to apologize for being there for him when his marriage was falling apart, and that she wasn't going to let my vindictiveness ruin the best thing that had ever happened to her. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling oddly at peace. I tried to warn her, and she'd chosen to dismiss everything I said and attack me instead. Whatever happens to Hannah in her relationship with Ben is no longer my concern. I did my part, I shared the information I had, and gave her the chance to make an informed decision. She chose to ignore it and blame me instead. The truth is, Hannah willingly participated in the destruction of my marriage. She sat in my living room and comforted me while she was sleeping with my husband. She helped me hire a divorce lawyer while planning to marry my ex-husband herself. She spent months lying to my face while building a relationship with the man she was helping me leave. Even if Ben does to Hannah exactly what he did to me and Michelle and his high school girlfriend, I can't bring myself to feel sorry for her. She made her bed when she chose to betray our friendship and participate in Ben's manipulation. If she ends up getting played the same way she helped play me, that's not karma, that's just consequences. Katie also told me that she decided not to confront Ben directly about his pattern. She said that after seeing how Hannah reacted to the truth, she realized that people who are determined to believe lies will find ways to dismiss any evidence that contradicts what they want to believe. Instead, she's just going to maintain her distance from Ben and be there for her parents when his next relationship inevitably implodes. As for me, I'm finally ready to close this chapter completely. I've gotten my truth out there. I've warned the people who might be hurt, and I've done everything I can do. The rest is out of my hands. This is definitely my final update. Thanks to you all, and bye. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.